All right, so we have our character all rigged up. However, if you look, you can see there's all these extra nodes and they're kind of floating around. I'm going to show you something. This is how I usually do my rigging. I don't usually use the outliner, but I'm just going to show you this other thing. So you go to General Editors, Hypergraph Hierarchy. It gives you both a vertical and, let me make this bigger so you can see. It gives you both a vertical and a horizontal aspect to your nodes that are currently in your scene. So you can see we have, here's the eye controller, here's the upper body rig, here's the spine. These are some extra nodes that were made from the spine. Leg controller, another leg controller, the eyeball geometry that has those two constraints on them, right? So you can also see, oh, sometimes you'll see the cameras here too. We can see the geometry here. All right, so I can see all my bits in here, right? So you have a whole bunch of them. Now, what you want to have happen is you actually want all of your nodes to be under one node. So there should be one node and everything is parented underneath that singular node so that it is clean. Because imagine if you had a whole bunch of characters, you'd have all these nodes just floating on and about, and it'd be difficult to, it would be disorganized and it'd be more difficult to work with. So we want to make it so that all of these eventually lead to one node and everything is in a nice orderly parenting structure, okay? So what we're going to do is this. We are going to basically, let me see something real quick. Yeah, we're going to basically parent these various things to each other. So I am going to take this and let's turn all these off so I have more space over here. And I'm going to snap this right in here. That was disappointing. I want you to go into this panel. And okay, we'll do it this way. I'm going to close out of that. I'm going to go layout. So we're going to do two panes side by side. And then we're going to go panel. And then I'm going to choose, did I not have hypergraph hierarchy in here? Oh, here we go, hypergraph hierarchy. There we go. All right. So I'll just have the panel over here, and we'll have this panel over here. And that'll give us some stuff to work with, okay? So first thing I'm going to do, just to make things a little bit easier, is I'm going to take all my geometry and just put it into a group so that way I know they're all part of that group, okay? So we can do it a couple different ways. What I'll do is I can look, and you can see there's little icons that kind of tell you what they are, and also we have everything named nicely. So I'm going to grab all these, right? These are all part of the geometry, and I'm going to do Control-G to make a new group. It's called Group 3. I'm just going to right-click and rename. Let me double-click on it, and we'll just call this Geo_GRP. All right, so that way we know what it is. It's the geometry group. So some other elements need to go in this as well. So you can see we have the two eyeball joints. So I can select those and then go over here and shift click on that. So we'll just, I'm going to control or shift click on it and then hit P. Or you could do it this way. I can make sure you grab the top. Don't grab it like this. I want just the top nodes. Because otherwise what will happen is you'll parent all of them to this and they'll be individually parented. These will lose their parenting to this. So I'm going to grab these two, middle mouse button, click, and I'm just going to drag it here and let go. And now those are now parented to it. Okay, so now I have this geometry group. All my geometries in there. That makes things a little bit cleaner. Okay. The next thing I need to do is, actually, even before we get to that, let's come back here. We need to make one more controller, because right now, if I want to move my character, I can move this part, but then I got to move the feet individually, which is kind of annoying. And then we also got to move the eye controller, which is also kind of annoying. So we're going to make a master controller. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a fancy one. We'll do panels, orthographic, and I'll do top just so I can see. And I'm just going to draw one, and you can kind of see how to do it. So I'm just going to do a top view. We're going to go to Create, Curve Tool, CV Curve Tool, hit the option box, make it linear, and then we'll just shut that. Okay, I'm going to hold X, and it doesn't matter where we go. I'm going to go here, 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 two over, down, crossed. And then we'll go, what I do, 3, boom, 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 boom. Enter. Right? Looks a little nicer. So we're going to use that, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this, and we'll just call this the Logan _ initial positioner _ CRV. Actually, we'll call it initial positioner controller. Sorry, controller. All right. So that way we know what it is. We're going to do modify center pivot. So the pivot is centered, and let's also go to the attribute editor, enable overrides, and we'll give this like a special color. Let's do this color. Let's not use too much. Okay. Let's go panels, perspective, okay. And where are you? Oh, it's right there. It's very small. Okay. So I'm gonna take that. I'm just gonna scale it much larger. Okay. We're gonna let's go to a panels orthographic front view, and I'm just going to make sure it's snapped onto the center. So I'm just going to go up here, and I'm going to hold the X to grid snap. I'm just going to make sure it's in the center so that it's perfectly centered. Panels, perspective. Okay, I'm going to put it down where the feet are, and I think it would look a little bit better if it was actually more of a box. So I'm going to hit E. I'm going to hold J, and I'm just going to rotate it so it's like this. I think that looks a little bit better. Okay, so roughly we're just going to eyeball this and put it like that. All right, so we'll say that that's good. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Okay. So let's go ahead, and I already have it renamed. So let's do modify freeze transformation so that zeroed out. Edit, delete by type, history. Just make sure there's no history. Okay, so this is going to be our initial positioner. Basically, all the controllers are going to be parented to this. Okay. So I'm going to take this spine, and I'm going to parent it to this. So let's grab the spine, shift click this, and hit P. So now if I move this, you'll see it also moves the spine. I'm going to grab the foot controller here and this one here. And then lastly, select this and P. So now if I move, now if I grab that, you'll see it moves the feet and the waist. And then the last thing is the eye controller. Select that, shift click this and hit P. Okay. So now, if I move this, you see it moves the entire character. And you can see that actually cleaned up our thing quite a bit. There are some other nodes here. We'll get to those in a second. One test I want to do, and I'm pretty sure it's going to show that this is broken, but we're going to do this. Crap. Oh, no, that's good. Okay, I thought I didn't zero it out. So one test I like to do is I like to take the translate down to rotate, not scale, and I type in 100. That way it's over 90 degrees. And what you're going to see is, yeah. So if you look, see how the spine is kind of twisted and weird. It didn't quite do what I was hoping. For whatever reason, it's kind of like one annoying thing. So we did a parent constraint, but the parent constraint doesn't take world space into account. So in order to fix this, which is like not a great way to do it, but it will work, is to grab this and actually take this joint and parent it to this P. So grab the root joint and parent it to the controller. Now if we click and drag across 100, you'll see that it works fine. It's an issue with using a constraint versus an actual parenting structure. It sounds stupid, but I know we use constraints for a whole bunch of different things, but you'll find that when you're rigging, so like we parent constraint this to, or we did an orient constraint, you'll find that constraints often are where a lot of like bugs happen in the rig, and it's a little bit frustrating. And there are ways around doing what we just did, but for ease of use, I'm just going to do it like that because that's just going to be simpler for us to work with. So you just want to make sure that when you type in 100, 100, 100 on the main controller, that everything looks stiff and looks like it should, but at a slight angle. It's just to make sure that it's functioning correctly. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo what we just did here, the rotation. Okay, good. So we're good. So now everything moves to that initial position, and that works hunky-dory. All right. So I still have a bunch of nodes over here, and I'm going to bring this over. And you can see we have these nodes left. Now you might have a couple extra ones. If you do, just look to see what they are. They might be like empty group nodes. So like if you have nothing selected, you'll see a group node. It'll just show this like little arrow thing. That just means that's a transform. That's why it's showing that. It's an empty transform. There's nothing in this. There's no geometry attached, yada, yada, yada. So, and it might say group, or it might even say polysphere or something like that. And that just means that you, at some point, like separated or combined objects, and then it leaves like the transform node still there. In my case, it's an obvious null, but that's what that's from. All right, so what I'm going to do is actually, I shouldn't have deleted that. We're going to make two groups. I'm going to Control G. So we got this null. I'm going to rename this one transform_grp. And then we're going to make another null. And this one's going to be non-transform_grp. The idea behind that is that things that get moved, such as like this is something we move around, will get thrown into this transform. Things that should not be moved, such as the spine curve, watch. See how it's ripping it off of the thing? I don't know if you can tell. There's a curve that runs through this spline. Remember doing that? Things like that should not be moved, or this IK handle, which you can't even move it anyway. That will go in the non-transform. Basically, the non-transform is like the no touch. All right, so that's what we're going to put in there. So real broadly, we're going to put one thing in the other. So I have the initial positioner. That's in the transform. So I'm just going to middle mouse button and drop and drag. Geo group, right? That never gets moved. So that's going to go to the non-transform. I got the upper body controllers. That's going to go in the transform. Okay. Then we have the what is this? The spine curve and the basically the two things made from the spline. We're going to drop those into the non-transform group. Now you'll see we have two broad groups. We have a transform and non-transform. We're going to grab both of those, just the top ones. You don't do this, just the top two nodes, and we'll control G, and we'll just call this Logan _ GRP. And basically everything now exists in one group. Okay, that's what we're after. We want to make it one group so that it's a nice clean rig. And now you'll see that the rig itself is all in one spot. They all go to one place, and that should be better. I'm going to click on this forward panel to make things a little bit easier. Okay. Let's see. What else did we want to do? I think that is it. I will append another video if there's something I forgot, but I think that was all I really need to do. You should have a mostly functional rig. Now, it's not going to be necessarily the most robust rig. There are more robust rigs than this. Like I said, if you take the rigging course in the future, the one that's specifically rigging, you will only rig a character for the entirety of the course. You rig one character, kind of similar to what we're doing here, but it will have much more functionality. So like you'll do a reverse foot rig, but it'll have some more features. You will do 2 sets of arm rigs that you can blend between with an IK FK switch. Things like that, right? So just be aware that this rig could be made a bunch of different ways. But this is a nice kind of quick, clean way of making a rig. And I use this one quite a bit, or a lot of similar pieces of this. Anyway, yeah, so that should be it. Good luck.